My 3 tips to cast further. Try to say something that's not already been said before. Obviously, practice is the key. But instead of just practicing with your fishing rod, practice with your spod rod, because it's so much harder to, it's so much heavier, so much harder to compress. Once you can compress a spod rod, your fishing rod is just so much easier. When you've initially done your cast, I see a lot of people pointing straight at the lead, but that's not the way your line's going. If you actually follow your line, you'll notice your line goes a bit flatter, and it'll also go either left or right with the wind. Follow your line, it takes a lot of friction away, and that'll add quite a few yards as well. My 3rd tip, just be a little bit more aggressive with it. Really pull that bottom arm in, because that's where you generate your speed. And the quicker that comes down, the quicker your tip moves, the faster your lead goes, the further it goes. It's that simple. How I cast. Basically, this arm's a pivot point. I lean back, this arm's ready to pull down. Transfer my weight from my back foot to my front foot and just bring this arm down as fast as I can. So propel that lead as fast as I can. The faster it goes, the further it goes. When leaders are banned, you obviously need a line that's really robust, so I'd never go below 0.37, and there's nothing better than bullet in my opinion. I've used bullet in the past and dragged in marker buoys with 2 bricks attached to it, and can't say any more than that. But what I would say is, because you're putting it through a lot of stress, it's the same point every time. Every now and again, strip a few yards off it so that it's a new piece of line at the tip of your rod. My preferred knot for attaching leader to a main line is the marking knot, and I use it for both braid to mono, braid to braid, whatever. It's just a great knot. To tie the main knot, it's an overhand knot with the heavy line, through it with your thin line, and then you wrap it around the heavy line 8 to 10 times, and then back down 9 to 8 times, and then back through your overhand knot, and then just tighten your overhand knot and just tease everything down. I set up my dot spod rod with the Nash spod marker braid attached to a braided 50-pound braided leader, and I always use a heavy duty C swivel if I'm ever changing my spods over. I set up my marker rod with, again, spod and marker braid, but I don't use a braided leader with this. I actually use a mono leader. I'll use a heavy tapered mono leader, because I find when you cast it with braid, the float seems to come back and wrap around itself, but I think the friction of the heavy mono stops that. Right, so the marker float, you slide the ring down, slide the float down, then there's a loop on the actual float itself, tie that on, and then screw it back together. Job's done. To cast far, ideally you need a 13-foot rod, 3.5-pound test curve, something that's got a bit of poke to it, something that'll handle a 4-ounce lead. It doesn't mean that with a 12-foot rod you won't be able to cast far, but obviously you've got to balance everything to it. If you say your rod's only a 3.25-pound test curve, it'll still cast a long way, but you're limited to how far you can cast. You need to drop your lead size. So generally, 3.5-pound test curve rod, but like I say, if you're dropping down to a 3.25-pound test curve rod, you just come down with your lead to say 3.5-ounce lead as opposed to a 4 with the 3.5-pound test curve. Do you need to spend a lot of money on a rod to cast far? Well, I think I've just proved with the X series that is a budget rod. I've just put it 186 yards. No, you don't need to spend a lot of money to cast far.